Today we are back with the 2025 Subaru Forester Hybrid Touring. Now you may have noticed we filmed one of these a few weeks ago. That was a first impressions drive where I pretty much only just spent a few minutes behind the wheel. This week I've lived with this Forester Hybrid all week, and I'm going to give you guys some more thoughts on what it's been like to live with. So you can get the new Forester Hybrid in 3 different models. The Premium for about $37 grand, the Limited, and this Touring, which comes to about $44,000 as tested today. It's not cheap. It's a little bit more expensive than the internal combustion only Forester, but it might be worth it. It's a lot more fuel efficient. It's rated for 35 miles to the gallon in the city, 34 on the highway. It has a 16.6 gallon fuel tank, which Subaru rates at 581 miles on a full tank of driving range, which is quite impressive. The nice thing about this Forester Hybrid is that it still retains Subaru's symmetrical all-wheel drive. The Lineartronic CVT is kind of a modified version of Toyota's eCVT, adapted to work with that symmetrical all-wheel drive system. So there's actually a mechanical linkage between engine and that rear axle, instead of it just being an electric rear motor like how Toyota employs their all-wheel drive hybrids. So you're going to get better off-road performance, better performance in the snow. You're not really sacrificing any performance or capability with the Subaru Forester, it being a hybrid. Really the only thing that you're losing out on is a rear spare tire, which might be a bummer for some, but there really isn't a place to put anything with all the hybrid components. This is a high-capacity lithium-ion battery, which is very nice. 194 combined horsepower between the Atkinson-cycle 2.5 liter boxer 4-cylinder, which has been heavily reworked, by the way, to adapt to this hybrid powertrain. It's a lot quieter, a lot smoother. Doesn't make as much power, but combined with the electric motors, it feels just fine. All the hybrid components do add some weight. Curb weight on this comes in at 3,946 pounds in touring trim, but you don't really feel it. This thing still drives great. If anything, it's a little bit torqueier, maybe, than the internal combustion engine Forester. It is a little bit more expensive, but again, after living with it this week, I've really enjoyed my time behind the wheel. Let's hop inside and talk about what this has been like to live with. All right, so starting this up, first thing we need to talk about is honestly my least favorite thing about this car, and it's the only thing I don't really like about the Subaru Forester. It's this dang Subaru infotainment. On the first startup of the day, it is unacceptably laggy and slow to respond. You can see it a little bit right now. This just feels very Windows 98 with a computer virus. After it's had about 30 to 60 seconds to warm up, it's okay. It's still not great. It's still pretty sluggish, but at least you can use it and it's functional. Sometimes though, or at least very often, first startup of the day, you'll turn on your heated seats or try to connect CarPlay, and you'll make a bunch of inputs, the screen will freeze, and then about 5 to 10 seconds later, it'll register all those inputs and do everything at once. Subaru desperately needs to update this and improve, I don't know if it's the hardware and the software, probably both. They either need to give us back some more physical buttons or make this a more modern and responsive display. It just is the biggest shortcoming of what is otherwise a fantastic overall car that I'm struggling to complain about otherwise. Going into the settings and actually turning off the Wi-Fi hotspot gives this a little bit more responsiveness overall. So you can notice now things are happening a little bit quicker. So that might just be the solution if you're an owner or if you're thinking about buying one of these. Just turn off your Wi-Fi hotspot. I don't know why you would even need that anyway. Maybe if you're like running a laptop, but pretty much everyone has a hotspot on their phone these days. Turn that off and your infotainment will run noticeably quicker. So there's that. The rest of this car is pretty straightforward. You've got a button for EV mode around town. The rest of it is just the same as the regular Subaru Forester. We have a nice traditional shifter here. Unfortunately, some gloss black right here around the shifter, which does reflect sunlight. You can see that right now. But everything else in here is a nice matte surface, not too many reflective panels. I like that Subaru's gotten rid of that silver bezel piece down here, or at least in this trim that's not there. That was causing a lot of reflection in one of the Foresters that we drove. We have a really nice digital gauge cluster, which you can change to a number of different displays. Yeah, look how much faster this is operating now without Wi-Fi on. So if we go into more settings, you have a few different meter display modes. So there's normal, map, very cool, and then EyeSight. I just like the normal display. We'll keep it on that. You've got a climate menu. Again, I don't like that you have to go into this climate menu to change things like recirculation. If you're following a stinky truck, that should just be a quick button you can press in a moment's notice. Here's what your reverse camera looks like. It's pretty wide angle, kind of a lot of distortion, and then you can switch between a reverse camera, a 360 camera, and then reverse and 360, but both are really small, and the reverse camera is super distorted in this view. It would be nice if Subaru used this screen real estate a little bit better and just being able to show us a larger camera system. There's so much screen here, it's all taken up by things besides the reverse camera and 360 cameras. Still, you get a quick access button right here if you want to see things quickly. That's nice, I appreciate that. And then you can cycle through a couple other options like side view cameras, a forward-facing camera, etc. So that's nice to have. Steering wheel buttons are pretty straightforward, similar to what we've seen in a lot of Subarus the last couple of years. We've got a heated steering wheel, heated and ventilated seats in this touring model, and it's getting a little toasty, so I'm actually going to turn on those ventilated seats. Good amount of storage here. Nice sized cup holder, water bottle holders, a 12 volt, 120 watt outlet right here. Seats look nice. This little suede insert feels good. We have great visibility, such a low belt line in the Subaru Forester. 2-seat memory settings, and then buttons over here to pop the tailgate, fuel filler, cap, gauge brightness, which can control everything in the interior, including the center display and your infotainment screen. Love that. And then a button on the side to turn on EV mode. Super easy to get in and out of. Ingress and egress is always fantastic in the Subaru Forester, thanks to a lot of that higher roof height. Back seat, good amount of room here, still very easy to get into. The only difference with the Forester Hybrid Touring in the interior is this little vent and the button that says EV mode. Everything else is about the same, really. Good size panoramic sunroof here, or I guess kind of a half panoramic sunroof. From the driver's seat, you really wouldn't know the difference. It's so big. My front seat is set to my driving position at 5'10". It's lowered all the way down, and I still have room to put my feet under the seat. You get a couple map pockets back here, a little place to put your phone, which is separated with some stitching, and then another bigger pocket. We get heated rear seats, 2 USB-C ports, rear vents. Here's what your armrest looks like. Nice and comfy, really some softer materials in this Touring, which I like. We already showed you the rear cargo space, but let's show it to you again and fold down these rear seats too. So you've got a cargo cover here, which is great, and then buttons to quickly fold those down. Not sure what's in there. There's your tire inflator, okay. Harman Kardon sound system, speaker, a couple places to hang grocery bags. Look at that, very nice. Little power outlet too. What is that? That is a 12 volt, 120 watt max outlet. It would be nice to have something a little bit beefier with this being a hybrid, but that's okay. These back seats fold pretty much completely flat. Actually peek in there and see some of the hybrid components. So that's nice. We do get an adjustable backrest with this little pull strap. So you can have one of 3 little settings there. ISOFIX points are easily accessible. And I like these floor mats too. Rubber, soft, and deep. This Forester is painted in River Rock Pearl, which I think is a few $100 optional extra paint color. It looks good. I just hosed it off earlier this morning, and it still looks pretty clean after a week of pollen and dust sitting on it in the driveway. All right, there's the Atkinson-cycle Boxer 2.5 liter 4-cylinder, heavily reworked for this hybrid platform. The engine itself makes a little bit less power, but a whole lot of engineering has gone into this to make it more efficient and effective with this hybrid powertrain. Paired with the CVT, it's smooth and honestly drives a lot like the Toyota hybrids, which is a huge compliment to this car because the Toyota systems are always some of the best on the market. Excuse me, all these flies are attacking me, so I'm swatting them away during this review. Luckily, the engine isn't on, creating a bunch of carbon dioxide because it's a hybrid, it's off, and honestly, the hybrid integration here with this new Forester is fantastic. All right, let's hop behind the wheel and go take it for a drive. I like the styling of this Touring a lot better than what we had in the Sport a few months ago, which had the bronze wheels. It was just looking a little bit strange. This is definitely an improvement in terms of aesthetics. AC blows nice and cold, even with the engine off, as it should. Upon cold start, the engine will run for a few minutes until it gets some temperature in it, and then it'll be more willing and ready to turn off in EV mode at lower speeds or at stoplights. This week I've averaged 32.2 mpg in this Forester hybrid. Letting off the throttle there, turning into EV mode about 35 miles an hour. You can usually maintain EV mode around town right before this first eco tick on the eco power meter. Good turning radius here too. Listen to how quiet that boxer engine is too. It's not droning away at me. Even at full throttle, it's very quiet. Brake pedal tuning is excellent. Smooth, linear, good pedal feel. NVH over bumps is pretty good too, even on these 19-inch wheels. The throttle mapping with this Forester hybrid is really well calibrated. It's smooth, it's linear in I mode. In S mode, that gets a bit more aggressive, as it should, but I feel like Subaru usually struggles a little bit with their throttle programming in their cars, and in this, it's not an on-off switch like it is in some other models. It's actually really nice and linear, which I appreciate. We get a few more drive modes here with our X mode. Those usually happen at lower speeds with dirt and snow, and then deep snow and mud. You can kind of control the programming of the all-wheel drive system and the traction control system. Handling feels great. Good mechanical grip. Decent power here merging onto the highway. Instant torque. And again, a very quiet engine, even at full throttle here. Today we're going to get a chance to test out the Subaru EyeSight system. You can quickly change your following distance with these buttons right here on the steering wheel. Enable active steering assist, which works quite well on the highway. You just have to leave your hand on the wheel, apply a bit of torque here and there, and keep your eyes facing forward. And it does a pretty good job keeping you centered between the lines. Steering assist will turn off mid-lane change. And the adaptive cruise control seems to do a pretty darn good job following other vehicles, maintaining a good distance. The closest following distance is actually pretty close, around 50 to 60 miles an hour. On the highway, it backs off just a little bit. When Subaru first introduced EyeSight, it was constantly beeping and bonging and annoying you and distracting you. This is one of the better systems on the market now. There's a little bit of wind noise at speed on the highway, but overall it's not terrible for a car in this class. We do get a digital rear view mirror in this Touring model, which does offer you a little bit more side-to-side visibility looking behind you. It's telling me to keep my eyes on the road. But honestly, the visibility with the regular mirror is so good that I'm not really sure you would need it. You can skip 5-mile-an-hour increments by holding your plus and minus buttons on the steering wheel here for cruise control. So that's nice. You can quickly change your speed. This is the closest following distance at about 72 miles an hour. Feels pretty good to me. You do have paddle shifters behind the wheel. You can kind of control a few different gears. There's up to 6 fake gears, but I don't know why you would want to with something like this. Just let the hybrid powertrain do its thing. Let it relax. It's responsive enough up on initial throttle input that you don't really need a sport mode or anything else for this. While we're cruising here, let's test out the Harman Kardon sound system. You get a volume knob, easy volume and track selection controls on the steering wheel. The Harman Kardon actually is pretty decent. It's reasonably clear, powerful, strong bass. I like the sound system here. It's nice. It suits the car for the price point, and it's definitely better than some other systems we've tested in similar cars recently. This is an easy, relaxing car to drive. Once the infotainment boots up after a couple minutes, it's fine to use. A lot of your settings, you're just going to set them and forget them, and you're mostly just going to be operating this within CarPlay or Android Auto. Maybe occasionally dipping into the climate control menu. I love the visibility, and this just drives great. All the calibration, the tuning with the throttle, the brake pedal, the steering. It's all very nice. I even like this digital gauge cluster. It's clear and easy to read without too much information. You have this kind of secondary display down here where you can see fuel economy, range, time driving, tire pressures, what roads you're on, music, and then a hybrid system display that can show you your battery state of charge and power distribution. Or you can just get rid of it. Good torque off the line too. And there's 60. I hope that Subaru comes out with a wilderness version of this hybrid, because for me at least, that would kind of be the ticket. More ground clearance, more off-road capability, but still very good fuel economy for something with that ground clearance and capability. Ultimately, this probably has as much off-road capability as anyone would need for a vehicle like this, but it would be cool to have a wilderness hybrid just because this powertrain does drive so well. Let's merge onto the highway here and see how this handles tossed into a couple corners. Hard on the brakes, turning in. Good mechanical grip here from these Bridgestone Turanzas. Not a lot of steering feel, but it's tight, direct, and responsive. And honestly, that's kind of the most I've actually floored this car this week. This is not a car that loves to be pushed or begs to be driven spiritedly. It's a more relaxing and sedate driving experience. It's kind of actually fun to eke out as much fuel economy as you can out of this. So I found myself driving this around like an old man, if I'm being honest. I haven't really been, it can hustle, it has decent handling characteristics. It's quick enough, it handles well enough, but ultimately, this is it's a relaxing driving experience. The smoothness from a hybrid powertrain is really nice in a car like this. Even just that first 5, 10, 15 miles an hour that you can eke out in full EV mode, and that transition to internal combustion engine, it's just so smooth. Around town, driving this around in EV mode is fantastic. I really like the powertrain here just for the refinement, the smoothness, and the quietness that it affords over a boxer engine that's idling at a stoplight or a little bit rough on stops with the engine turned off. This is just all seamless and quiet. And little things like that, I think, add up over the course of ownership in a car like this. Let's change lanes, follow some faster traffic here. It catches up without any issue. And it looks like you really only just need to touch this wheel. You don't need to apply a ton of torque to it for it to register your hand being there. Just a little bit of torque occasionally. So if you just rested your hand on it, you'd be completely fine. $80 mph. Wind noise isn't terrible. Once you kind of get over that initial road noise that's in this car, it's okay. Again, this is kind of shaped a little bit like a hiking boot, so it's not probably the most aerodynamic vehicle out there. We have a lot of options for connectivity. Right now we're connected to wireless CarPlay, but you can connect it via USB port. You also get an aux cable, which you don't see in a lot of new cars anymore. There's wireless charging here, which you can turn on and off. All right, so let's sum up some thoughts on this 2025 Subaru Forester Hybrid Touring. Overall, a really great car to live with this week. The hybrid powertrain is just awesome here. I can't really come up with any complaints. Subaru has definitely done a lot of great engineering and work to make this integrate well with the Boxer 4-cylinder. It's efficient, it's good to drive. It kind of drives a lot like the Toyota hybrids, except it has a better all-wheel drive system, which is a big plus. I think a lot of Subaru owners and buyers will appreciate that. Really, the only complaint I can come up with here is the lack of a spare tire and the infotainment screen. It's really slow and sluggish on cold starts, on initial startup, first startup of the day, but there are some ways that you can speed it up, I guess, by disabling the Wi-Fi hotspot. But still, I think it's unacceptably slow and sluggish for the 2025 model year. Subaru really desperately needs to update this system. But it's not a deal breaker. It's not a reason why I wouldn't buy this car. I would just, you just got to be patient with it. Ultimately, it still works. CarPlay has seemed to be pretty reliable, and it may improve with some updates over time too. Ultimately, it's just a glaring shortcoming in what is otherwise a fantastic overall car. So those are my thoughts. I think this is an easily recommendable option in the segment. I would actually consider buying one of these as a family vehicle. The interior packaging is fantastic. There's a lot of space in the back seats. The roof height is great. There's a lot to like about the Forester packaging itself. And again, the hybrid powertrain here just improves upon that. So anyway, high marks for the Subaru Forester Hybrid Touring. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you guys in the next video. We'll walk you guys around this one more time so you can see what it looks like. Here's your key. Lock, unlock, pop the tailgate, and a nice compact key. I even like the redesign of this. It's maybe a little bit less unique, a bit more mainstream, but I think it looks good. Still retains that classic Forester profile, a bit shorter, a bit squatter. And fingers crossed that Subaru comes out with a wilderness version of this in the next year or two. A hybrid wilderness that might be the jam. All right, that's it for this one. Thanks so much for watching, guys. We'll see you in the next video. Take care.